See, people always say trust yourself, right? But they never talk about how damn hard that is when your whole life been built in survival mode. See, because in survival mode, trusting myself meant one thing: protect me, keep me out of danger, and don't let me fall. And honestly, that version of me did her job. She kept me alive, she kept me moving. But now I'm not in survival mode anymore. I'm trying to build a life we don't have to escape from. And that requires a new type of trust. Not the fight or flight instincts, but my intuition, my discernment, and my own mastery of myself. And the hardest part of it all is learning to trust myself again when the threat is gone, but peace still feels unfamiliar. How does that happen? What does that look like for you? Can you resonate with that type of thought process? Tune in. That's what we're going to talk about today. Hey, you're listening to The Process Method, and I'm your host, Tiffany. And today we're going to talk about listening to yourself. And the reason why I think it's important for you to listen to yourself is because those instincts and those intuitions or common sense, those are your saving grace. And what I mean by that is when you're around certain people or dealing with certain people or doing certain jobs or whatever the case may be, there's a certain type of feeling or thoughts and energy that carries whatever it is you're trying to do. And the way that your intuition and stuff reacts, that is a part of you because it knows you, it knows your body, it's here to protect you. You should at least listen to it and go with precaution. Now, this can also be a scary thing because if you have not trained yourself or you don't necessarily know yourself, this right here could be something that you overindulge in. And when I say overindulge, this is something that you could use as a fear tactic. This is something that you could use as you not actually conquering your goals or doing whatever it is you need to do. Like this can also turn bad if you do not know yourself. But because we're working on self mastery and getting to know ourselves, this is something that you start to develop as you get to know yourself. Now, when you're in survival mode, you don't know your intuition necessarily. You don't know that inner thought, that thought that's in the back of your head, because your only thing is to survive and you don't care how it looks, how it feels, what it does. Your only mission is to survive. But because we're coming out of survival mode and we're going into the tool of uh, using this in a healthy way so we can have a healthier life, when you start getting into certain situations, you have to start listening to those thoughts in the back of your mind, your intuition, your consciousness, whatever you want to call it, common sense. Because what you're going to learn is the more that you don't listen to it, the more you self doubt. And when you self doubt yourself, whoever you love or you trust, you are giving them that ability to make judgment for you. And that is something we definitely do not want to do. We do not want to give anybody the position to think for us or to make decisions for us. Now, some people may feel like, nah, that kind of works for me because I this. Certain circumstances, I guess if it fits. But for this circumstance of a regular everyday Joe who can do whatever they need to do and they can make decisions and whatever. The thing is, you may not be confident in making the decisions, but how could you get confidence if you never practice? If you never practice using your common sense, your intuition, or your discernment, or whatever it is you want to call it, if you never practice it, how could you ever use it and know if it's right or if it's wrong? But this is the thing. Our consciousness, our discernment, our common sense, our intuition, all of those stuff, whatever you want to call it, but that is literally you, your life, how you survive and navigate through this world. That tool is so vital and so important because it literally can save your life. We see countless stories of people like, I don't know, I just felt it, or I don't know, like it just happened, or you hear countless stories of people talking about how listening to their intuition, listening to their instincts, listening to that common sense in them saved their life. And I'm here to tell you too, because even in my survival mode, my instincts saved my life. I am a product of abuse growing up. And with growing up, I learned that I would have been more abused and traumatized if I didn't listen to those instincts. So, for example, when I was growing up, I seen the way certain people would behave. And with these people behaving a certain type of way, I did not want to go around them. And cousins and them would be like, oh no, let's go, let's do this. And no, they okay, they cool people. I know they seem a little weird sometimes, but no. And it was like, fuck no, no, I'm not doing it. Now, I was the type of person who I go around anybody, like, I don't judge people, like it is what it is. And you tend to have that attitude when you've been abused, you tend not to judge people. You tend to kind of be real, like life is kind of crazy, like stuff is not always what it seems. But also too, I knew that some things were exactly what they seemed like. But anyway, later on, through conversations with my cousins, I find out that this person was really inappropriate. And this person kept being inappropriate with them and kept making them feel uncomfortable, kept making them do things they didn't want to do. And it just kept being repeated. Or even for other family members who was around people and they just kept making them do inappropriate things that children should not have been doing, or teenagers should not have been doing. See, that intuition, that instinct, that common sense, that thought process, that discernment for myself, it helped me avoid being abused further, or it kept me from being abused by more abusers because I was already abused by multiple people, right? Now, as an adult, a way that I could use that in a healthy sense is, hey, being friends with this person or being in a relationship with this person, the way that they act and they conduct themselves, this is going to bring me more harm. And when I mean more harm, I'm either going to lose money, I am going to find myself in a lot of uncomfortable situations, I am going to find myself in a lot of heartache, or whatever the case may be. I, as an adult, have to listen to that. I'm not Superwoman, nor will I ever be Superwoman. Superwoman is a fictional character. Okay? Superwoman is a fantasy that is made up for ego, for pride, for entertainment, for the inner thoughts that we think of ourselves. That is not a real person. And I am not trying to be her either. I have to pay attention to that discernment, that common sense, that intuition when it comes down to people. The same way I practiced it when I was younger and I didn't necessarily know what I was doing, but it was just something that I needed to listen to. In some way through the transition, I just stopped listening to it. Some way, somehow, through growing up between teenage years and my 30s, I just decided not to listen to it as much. I would listen to it when it came down to certain things, but when it came down to the interaction with people, I just stopped listening to it. And because of that, I took a lot of things that I did not have to accept, as well as I dealt with a lot of things that brought a lot of hardship upon me. And that's not to blame anyone because it is my responsibility to protect myself as best as I could. So now that I know that, what is what should I do? Now that I am consciously aware that I am allowing certain behavior or that I am participating in certain behavior, what should I do now to fix that? Your first thought is cut it off, right? Cut that crap off and stand up for yourself and communicate or just walk away. But it's not like that as a human being. Because at the same time, when you're growing up, you want people around. And you want to have people around because at this age, you're getting older, you're getting more established. Certain things are no longer at the forefront of your mind or as important, but family is, friendship is, people is. And I just want to put this as a side note. A lot of people say things like, oh, I don't give a fuck. I like it better when I'm alone. That is not healthy. I know we want to seem like, oh, I love it when I'm by myself. That may be true. To some extent, it's healthy to be able to be by yourself. But constantly by yourself, you are building a force in you that is going to be hard for you to break, or anybody who ever wants to be a part of you, a life with you. It is going to be hard, extremely hard to break. And as good as that sound, that is not a healthy thing. It's not healthy, I promise you. I not only seen it in myself when I went through that period, but also too, if you do the research of people who are always alone and always to themselves, and they really communicate with you how it feels, they are not happy. They're okay, they're tolerant, but they are not genuinely happy. They're not getting fulfillment out of life like they want to. So let's go back. When we're talking about cutting people off, just don't deal with them no more. Like, you don't have time for that. Like, you deserve better. You should be doing this and you should be doing that. It's not that easy. And the reason it's not that easy, because remember, when a person is coming out of survival mode and they go through that phase of where cutting people off, not fucking with people, not dealing with people, and they're the best and they deserve this and that whole spiel, and then you start to gain some friends, or you start to gain some people. But the people that you're gaining and the friendship that you're gaining, you're still having some type of connection to these people, because these people are in survival mode too. And sometimes when you're in survival mode, they do some shit that is just like, that's not cool, that's not okay. And you have to give them grace that they're coming out. But also at the same time, you don't have to tolerate things. So at some point, I guess this is where a therapist will come in or something like that. The level of detach, or the level of stop messing with people who display certain behaviors. But also too, this isn't like what's the example I want to use? This isn't like Walmart. You can't just pick up a friend and that friend isn't who you want, or that boyfriend isn't who you want, or that girlfriend isn't who you want. So you take it and return it, and then you get a new one. That's not how it that's not how it works. At least for me, it doesn't. I know in our mind we want to say, "Oh, I drop a friend and get a new one." That means you don't understand friendship. You don't understand partnership. Because there's going to be some shit that you do that people absolutely do not like. And then for you to say, well, I'm not here for other people, I'm here to make myself happy, you going to keep finding yourself in that same cycle. The same cycle. In some way, somehow, you have to learn how to communicate. Now, that's not to say that you have to constantly communicate, but you need to may have to adjust the way you communicate and slowly start to detach and leave behind or separate until you gain access to new things. But that whole theory of cut off, done, I'm straight, I'm not tolerating, for some people, for some things, yes, I can understand. But for all things and all people, no. No. Well, for me, I can at least say for me. And that doesn't make me weak. That doesn't make me I don't love myself. I don't care. That doesn't make any of that, because I do love myself. I love me. I love who I am. I understand why I went through what I went through. Is it fair what I went through? No. Like, but that is just life, and I'm dealing with it to the best that I can. But anyway, where do we go from there, this part? Because now you recognize something about yourself, and now you have to find a way to correct it with whoever you need to correct it with. Me, what I suggest, and what I'm doing in the process of this, when I've realized that there are people around me that aren't the best people that I need to be around, and I need to change how I'm going about the situations with them, I slowly start to move away. And I slowly start to move away because in my mind, I I want to fully be aware and understand and justify why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's just me. The way you process and the way you handle things, that is on you. And the way you figure out how you want to do it, that's for you. Because just forcing myself to leave somebody alone doesn't work for me, for the type of person that I am being and the type of person that I was. Because, in a sense, I always think about, damn, what if I was looking at it this way? Or what if I was experiencing this? Or maybe that was, it's always that what if, maybe, or it could be. Whereas for me, if I slowly walk away, and when I say slowly, let me put this out. My slowly may not be your slowly, or it may not be as fast, or whatever. It could vary, because this has to fit you. This has to fit your life. But I have to slowly move away. And with that slowly moving away, I'm not going out with them as much. I'm not communicating with them as much. I am finding different ways to communicate with them with different things. And if I feel like my communication style isn't working, or the direct approach isn't working, or whatever the case may be, then when I walk away, Or we get to a point and the person's like, hey, you've been acting different. You've been, such and such. I can now with confidence be like, hey, this it just not working out. I have tried to do this. I have tried to communicate and it just wouldn't work, or whatever the result is the result. And as well too, when I go through that situation and I slowly start to remove myself, it lets me know who I am. And it slowly allows me to see how my intuition work, how my decision making work, how my common sense work. It's kind of like Holy Spirit, because you know how for the people who believe in God, like it's God, and then the tool that he uses, Holy Spirit, for you to maneuver through the world and different things like that. I feel like my common sense or my intuition is like my Holy Spirit. It kind of guides me in the way that I want to maneuver and go about doing things. And for that, I have to I have to make sure that I'm listening to it. And one of the ways for me to listen to it when it comes down to discernment of dealing with people or discernments of making decisions is for me to, if I have the chance to slowly approach it or take time to approach any decision and not just react. Boom, I got to make this decision because this is what it looked like and this is what it seemed. And the idea situation is for me to take my time to realize and understand what it is, but also understanding that I have control over what is happening around me to a certain extent, which is a heavy extent, because I can control who come in my home. I can control who calls my phone. I can control who I engage with. I can control all of these things. And the only way I can control them is because I took the time to get to know myself and I took the time to listen to myself. And this is how I feel, and this is my boundary that protects me. But I wouldn't know those things if I do not practice or take the time in doing them. And that is how you practice your intuition, your common sense, your discernment. You have to experience life. You have to experience people. How you do it is based off how you choose to do it. Now, for those people who just like, oh, I just cut a motherfucker off, I don't care. And I go about my life until I find somebody else. If that works for you, that works for you. That's just in my experience, that haven't worked for me, because at the moment I was satisfied, but at the same time, I realized that I had no friends. I had no family. I had nobody to deal with for me. And I wasn't happy with that. I didn't like that. And I realized that if I kept having to do that to people, I was the problem. And the reason I say I was the problem, because there is no way I keep running into the same type of people. There's no way I keep running into the same type of people where I just got to cut out motherfuckers like that. I shouldn't have to. I'm choosing wrong, or I'm choosing the wrong type of friends, or I'm associating with the wrong type of people. Because let's be real, everybody in the world isn't selfish. Everybody in the world ain't a fucked up person. Everybody in the world is not out to get you or jealous of you or on some BS with you, or no. That's part of your discernment too. When you are dealing with people and you understand how people work and different things like that, you learn how to be self-aware, and you realize that, hey, I am not the best person when it comes down to relationships. Why am I not the best person? Because I try to control everything. Even when I know this is something that I cannot control, or nothing, or something that I should not try to control, and I'm still trying to control it, and people feel that. That is discernment. That is intuition. That is getting to know yourself. That's all part of that self mastery. Like, coming out of survival mode. I don't have to survive. Of course, we have to survive. Don't get me wrong, like we're living in a world, so you have to survive to a certain extent. But I am not in dire need of protecting myself from something like that. And if you are, you have to take the steps to get out of those situations, to get out of that place. It is vital, it's important for us to be like that, to get out of those situations. Because we're not allowed to grow. In survival mode, you are not growing. You're not. You're just learning new techniques to get through that. You start to grow when you learn how to use those survival skills as tools to navigate yourself through the world in a healthy way. And healthy does not mean no chaos. Chaos is a part of life. Hardship is a part of life. I know we want to have a perfect life, but we can't have that. We just have a life, and it has a lot of ups and a lot of downs and a lot of different things like that. But we could do it though. Like, you could really have a life that you enjoy. You could really have a life that you wake up to and you just like, you have the gratitude, you have the grace, you have the presence because you made it. You made it through some of the worst days of your life. And now you get to sit back and you get to see your children grow up and experience a certain type of life. You get to grow up and experience a certain type of life. You get to go to these jobs that you love. You get to have the cars you want, the opportunities that you want. You get to have all of these things. Like, you get everything that you thought about in your mind, you now get to have. That's the that's the beautiful part about coming out of survival mode. You get to reap the harvest of all of the crap that you had to endure. And you get to realize that you are not a fuck up. You get to realize that you actually a cool, good person, but you also get to realize I have fucked up. And I didn't handle that situation to the best of my ability. I could have did better. It's not as daunting. You have your moments where you just like, damn, I could have did better. I should have did better. But then there's gonna be times like, look what I did. Look what I accomplished. Look who I am. Just look at me. And when you start to have those moments, it's another part of you that opens up if you realize it. I want to be present. I want to be happy. I want to be everything else that every other human being in this world wants to be. There was a point in time where I had to survive through some ugly things. And now that I'm not, or I'm having this moment of not being in survival mode, I want to utilize these tools of discernment, this tool of common sense, this tool of intuition. I want to use it to the best of my ability so I will not have to get back into survival mode and I can enjoy life. And that's what I want you to do for yourself. I want you to pay attention to yourself, and I want you to look at different ways that you could utilize the tool of discernment, common sense, intuition, your Holy Spirit for yourself, your guide to navigate through this world. Like, what are some ways that you are using your intuition? What are some ways that you're using your discernment? What are some ways that you are using your common sense to navigate throughout this world? Because remember, you are the person that's living this life. And whatever your trauma or your or abuse or your life experience, because trauma can come from sickness too. Trauma can come from what you seeing somebody else experience or whatever the case may be. So whatever that trauma or that abuse or that hardship or whatever it is that you experience, and you're trying to come out of the survival mode of that, what are some ways that you can utilize this skill to maintain your healthiness, to maintain you? And I think once you start to pay attention to that, you'll learn how to trust yourself again. Or you will learn how to just trust yourself in general. Some of us, this is our first time like really trusting ourselves. I kind of always trusted myself, but for some way or somehow I surrendered that for a minute. So I want to thank y'all again for listening. I want to tell you that I appreciate all of the support. I know that we didn't have an episode last week, and we're just trying to adjust and change some things because um, this stuff takes some work and some effort, and it's a lot of things that kind of go into this. And I'm the type of person, I do too much sometimes, and then I get burnt out. So yeah, but yeah, I appreciate y'all for listening. Thank y'all for everything. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave comments. Please leave comments like with some conversations that y'all want to have or questions that y'all have and different things like that. And um, share this also too with your friends, because you never know. All of us are in the situation that we're trying to get out of. All of us are experiencing hardship. So y'all have a good day. Y'all enjoy yourself. And all right, bye.